Trina, can you turn it down a little bit? Thank you. Tappa Film Production House. Tappa Film Production House. Tappa Film Production House. Tappa Film Production House. What's going on? How you doing? How was your weekend? Yo, what's going down? Welcome to the real. Welcome. It is the real Marcoux. How are you doing? Hey, how's it going, Kevin? Nice to see you, man. I hope you had a nice long weekend. We got ourselves a pan, right? Pan, tilt, pedestal, truck, dolly. If I'm behind Viking Dude, I am following him. If I'm ahead of Viking Dude as he heads towards me, I am leading. Makes for a nice music video shot. Welcome. Happy Tuesday, folks. You know, we didn't get a chance to enjoy our Mental Health Monday together, but that's okay. I hope you guys had a wonderful Mental Health Monday. Today is making up for Makeup Monday, so make up for Makeup Monday. I hope you guys are all doing well. And just to reiterate our assignments that are on the Google Classroom, one of them, we have the real distant countdown, your 5 count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Any creative way you choose, right? In your concentration, you should be choosing a sort of style and a technical journey for yourself to go through these concentration pieces. The second one was the real distant definition. So pick a word and define it with a video. Okay. And again, you could be abstract, experimental, you could be literal with these things. So a 10-second definition. Next is the real distant recipe. So a blueprint for something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a recipe for, you're going to see a little bit later, microwavable Chips Ahoy cookies or a real recipe of a breakfast. It could be that, but it could also be like a recipe for success or a blueprint for political gain or something like that. So you can pick and choose kind of how you drive with that. The last one is the real distant portrait. So that could be a real distant portrait of somebody, something, or something that represents somebody or something. And it could also be a real distant self-portrait. So if you decide you want to take a selfie, that works as well. And note that all these assignments have a photography option. So you don't necessarily have to do the video assignment. You could use photos, right? You could take original photos, or you could even like go through your photo banks and pick stuff that makes sense to you. I am going to critique it, so that way it makes it valuable as far as discovering and dissecting visual language. Because that's really what I'm going after here, is I want you guys to be able to talk about art and why you're doing things, and use your vocabulary, build on your vocabulary. You notice I use a lot of big words a lot of times. It's because, I don't necessarily, want to sound like uber smart or anything like that, but I'm trying to model, different ways that you can describe things. That way maybe you can use that in your vocabulary. I can't even speak right now. Vocabulary, right? You can expand your vocabulary so that way you become a very eclectic and manageable and malleable artist to work in this field, whatever direction you may choose. But yeah, I had a nice weekend. It was we did some camping out in the backyard. We set up the tent. I think it's gonna stay, but yeah, it was nice. Um, nice warm weekend. A lot of birds chirping and nature flourishing, so that's a wonderful thing. And it was Memorial Day weekend, so big shout out to those who have fought for our country and have died in war. You know, so big shout out to all those soldiers out there that lost their lives. Hopefully, in journey to help make our world a better place. So, anyways, happy Memorial Day to all of you guys that celebrate. Um, and yeah, we got another assignment that's coming up down the pipeline. So make sure that you use this Makeup Monday to get some work done, because we are going to move on to another assignment, and we do have some really cool virtual film shows that are going to happen in a couple weeks. Shout out to the seniors. Their show is senior. Their show is June 11th. It's a Thursday. It's going to get a 7 o'clock virtual kickoff. So virtual hangout, and then 7:30 the show will actually start. So make sure that you're in your virtual seat by 7:30. Join us at 7 o'clock so you can do some chatting, and I'm going to have some special surprises during the pre-show hour or pre-show half hour. So it generally the show should last about an hour, hour and a half, and we hope that everyone joins us on the Tap of Stars YouTube channel, and potentially some other venues too, because I'm going to try streaming it also on IG and maybe Facebook. We'll see. But let me know what you think would be the most appropriate way to show. And if you have a better idea about timing or anything like that, I'm all open ears. I put up a poll last week, but nobody answered except for my other Instagram page, which is hilarious. So right now we're going with 7:30, and that's going to be consistent across the board with all your arts. Okay, so you have theater June 10th, 7 o'clock show, start, 7:30 show. Film June 11th, right? 7 o'clock virtual doors, 7:30 show. You have music on that Friday, June 12th, right? Again, 7 o'clock open doors, 7:30 show, and dance on Saturday, 7:30 as well. So make sure you tune in all week long. It's going to be a really exciting time to celebrate class of 2020, who perhaps has the toughest skin out of anybody out there, right? To be able to handle this with dignity and poise. So shout out to my seniors, and please reach out to me and tell me about how your process is going and how I can support you. We're most likely going to be opening up some virtual meetups this week, so look for that and join. All right, and get the communication lines open so I can support you. And we have some banging films that are coming down the pipeline, so everyone look forward to that. Anyways, the show's already going too long. I talk like crazy and nobody watches, but that's all right. You know, I got to be persistent. I got to keep trying. Got to keep working on this whole thing. But I have some really cool work that came in through the pipeline over the weekend, and I did want to showcase some of that. So I don't know if you noticed in the background, I put this kind of computer screen back there. I have some other work that I'm about to get started. That's an older Mac that I've had for a while. I was thinking about getting some tapes all recorded and stuff from my yesteryear. In fact, I had a great friend who we lost last week, and that's actually one of my missions. Is I need to look up old tapes of my old friend who has gone to the ether, right? So, anyways, that's another good thing about video, is that we're recording the things that happen around us before they pass us by, and there's this real existential value to that, to being able to capture things before they leave us, right? So that way we can remember them. It's a big part about video, is remembrance and documenting things that are happening around us, particularly here in the COVID era, while things are changing very fast. And we always want to remember what actually happened, and not just what people tell us what happened. We want the proof. We want the proof of what happened, not just what somebody says happened, right? Multiple points of view, and we are the proof. All right, guys, we're about 8 minutes in, folks. I think I'm going to get us into some virtual crits. If you happen to be on the YouTube, check it out. So anyways, I got to go to my new folder. My new folder is the work that just came in over the weekend. Is that new? Yeah, it looks like it. All right. So here we go. Oh, excellent. So we have a recipe from Caden, or I'm not sure if this is the recipe or a definition. I think this is a definition. This is a definition of a lotus flower. So anyways, I thought it was really cool and ambient, surreal, abstract, symbolic of what Caden is doing right here. So check this piece out. As a woman, from Elores, her heart was
golden, deep as the ocean. Then this one man, he came and broke it till it was open, just like a loaded.
Wonderful piece, and that came in actually maybe a week ago or something like that. But I really find it's amazing the way that you did the artistic direction in this piece. Like you really set up your set, your zone. One of the first things that I asked you guys was make sure that you have your zone ready, right? Make sure you have a corner of your house or somewhere, even small, where you could set up kind of like background elements, right? And like a place where you can do video conferences and feel like it represents you well. Right here, Caden takes like another approach, and sometimes these zones are malleable or changeable. You see this set change all the time, but this looks like a familiar place for Caden to set up all these flowers and kind of this really neat composition that occurs. You can notice the dim light that adds this kind of like amber glow to Caden and also kind of accents the pink flowers that are going on. It's really a homage, it seems, to nature. And I wonder if this is actually part of the Glitter Goddess Challenge too. Check out the Goddess Challenges. That's a great way to keep engaged. Shout out to those guys. Wonderful work happening in yoga every day at 10 o'clock. Plug. So check out the live stream yoga at the Glitter Goddesses every day, 10 o'clock. Oh, and also check out Ayla. Ayla's Alquist is our other filmmaker in residence, and she oftentimes does her video meetings around noon. So make sure that you are joining those as well. So we keep active and you're keeping this COVID era super productive. That's what it's all about. But yeah, getting back to Caden's work, I love how they do this fading on top of the same image. So it becomes almost like this ghosting and trailing that occurs with the movements that Caden is doing. And it almost is almost like a blooming motion because you see the arm repeating itself. And it reminds me of like petals opening up of a flower as springtime is evolving, right? So there's this interesting kind of like subtle dance that's occurring here. And another thing that I noticed that was pretty interesting was there was almost like a happy mistake on the right side of the frame. If you could see that, there's like almost like this faded half gate that you see, and it's like the effect being like put onto it on itself, trying to crop it in order for the effect to work. And some might say, oh, that's kind of like a weird little mistake, but I think happy accidents are wonderful. In fact, I notice in a lot of Caden's work, there's like this gate. Caden tends to frame within a frame or add a black box around their image, so that way it has a particular feeling, almost like a peering or a voyeuristic look, right? So I find it's interesting that Caden, you added this this faded kind of stripe on the right side of the frame. It reminds me it's like signature to your work, something a signature to the work that you're developing now. It's that always having this kind of like frame within a frame, and in this case, it's really subtle. So, think about that when someone might say, "Oh, what about this? What about that?" Or "This is an accident." You know, make sure that you're very deliberate about the what you're putting forward. So if you notice a mistake, that's fine. Go with it. Go with that effect, and you know what? Maybe just what sets you apart, or something that people establish in their mind about you as the artist, right? Someone that always uses the benefit of something new that comes to their work through, the sloppy paint on the side of the painting, right? So I always find that that's interesting. So Caden, great work in this piece. I think it's really inspiring. We had the real Ray came in with his real portrait, and I found that this was fascinating too. Actually, he took a photograph for it. He said, "Oh, this is a portrait of like this painting on my wall in my house," and I'm okay, acceptable, totally acceptable. And I find it's interesting. Some may look at it and be like, "Oh, this is rather minimalist," right? There's not a lot happening in it, and it seems to really focus your attention towards the subject, right? Let me shrink it down a little bit so we can see it. So what I had commented was that I really like the frame within a frame here. Again, talking about cadence work as well. But I found that it gave this painting almost like a three-dimensional element. Notice how it's skewed. It's kind of like going off into space a little bit, right? However, the way he frames it rather symmetrically with this wood framing right here. To me, that like flattens the image and allows this imaginary space to occur right here. Since this shape is going off into the distance and this is flat, it almost seems like I'm peering through a window into a whole nother universe, a whole nother plane, right? This plane happens to be going off into space, whereas having the two-dimensional frames gives it this fight with our head about the fight of two-dimensional versus three-dimensional, which makes the painting itself kind of feel like it's floating in the center of the picture. So I don't know. Tell me if I'm just going crazy, but I believe that is what's happening here to give it this kind of 3D effect. Not only that, but the painting is really cool too. It's like this really neat minimalist kind of like paint brush stroke piece. So I think it's pretty neat that you paid homage to that. And I really like the wainscoting on your house too. It's really nice wood that you have going on there. It's pretty cool. But I really like that 3D effect that's happening because you added the two-dimensional frame. But when I look at the actual circle, it seems like it's going off into space. So there's this fight of perspective that's happening. And I really like that. It's minimalist and sophisticated at the same time. Thank you. Oh boy, really hot tea. That's good because usually my coffee is cold, but today we got some hot tea. Ooh, that's hot. Good for your throat though, and I'm not gonna spit it all over my computer. So great job, Real Ray, and I am gonna watch your film. I hope, hopefully tonight. I had to give myself like a week of like not watching it so I could attack it with a fresh head. In fact, for some of you artists out there, if you're thinking about critiquing other people's work, do them the service of giving yourself some time to flush out your head, right? Almost like if you're tasting food, right, professionally, you have to like cleanse the palate. So I watched Ray's film. It's amazing. That's you're gonna look forward to this film at our senior showcase June 11th. But one thing is that after you watch a film, it's all in your head, and you have all these ideas about it and stuff like that. So if I give someone another critique on a particularly a big film, usually I give myself a few days before I can watch it again. So I kind of look at it with fresh eyes. And I'll do that also when I edit my own work. When I edit a film for maybe a month straight or a week straight even, I always make sure to bake in a day that I have off, a day that I don't do any editing, or at least I don't look at that particular film, because it gives me like kind of like a fresh take when I approach that movie again. Um, if I go into it the next day or even an hour later, I have all these premonitions, these ideas that I wanted to do, or these conceptions of what I'm seeing, and it's always good to show it to someone else too, because they'll have a whole nother perspective of what you're looking at. Maybe something that you don't think was working, right? So maybe the whole time you were trying to like make something communicate better, but the whole time it was communicating very clearly, right? And you wouldn't notice that because you're the artist, like kind of in your own little tunnel vision. So, anyways, I always suggest give yourself little breaks in between getting your work done, so it kind of like it's like a meditation. It opens you up, and oftentimes it's also good because you're remembering ideas that you may have like thrown to the wayside, right, through your process. So I'm doing that all the time where I'm like kind of like thinking about what I've been processing for my artwork, and then I think back to myself and I'm like, oh wait, but originally the whole concept was I wanted to signify love and aspiration, and maybe I lost that by getting into the details of thinking, right? Anyways, a lot of ranting this morning. Great Tuesday. I did want to share the real Anna Ellie had a great portrait in here. Her nephew or somebody in your family is trying to blow some bubbles. So I find that this is a really nice shallow depth of field. I think that might be your concentration because all the work I've seen so far has been shallow depth of field. So shallow depth of field is when you have that softness in the background, right? Deeper depth of field is when everything seems like it's more or less in focus, right? And to get a that shallow depth of field for your techies, open up your aperture, Zoom into your lens. That's what's going to get you the best or the softest bokeh, Bokeh, softness of the shallow depth of field in your image, right? If you want a more deep depth of field where everything's in focus, perhaps you're filming sports, because sports are really hard to capture focus because things are happening so quickly. Maybe you want a deeper depth of focus, so that way everything is more or less in focus, like Oscar and Viking Dude might be close together, but you can see Viking Dude's a little soft, right? Hey, don't call me soft, whatever. And I'm really sharp, right? And Oscar's a little less soft because he's actually getting closer to the focal point, which is me, right? So that's a shallow depth of field. However, if I had a deeper depth of field, Viking Dude might seem more or less more in focus, almost similar to the focus that I'm in. So if I was to like punch Viking Dude, you would really get that focus perfect if you had that deeper depth of field. Deeper depth of field, close your aperture, zoom out. Shallow depth of field, open your aperture, let more light in, zoom in. More shallow depth of field. Okay. Um, so yeah, I really like this portrait. Wonderful work. Nice, creamy bokeh. Nice shape to the composition. Nice central framing. Good use of rule of thirds. Very good. The real Leilani came back. She got us a great picture of Husky that I'm so familiar with from a lot of the work that I've seen from your sister Kalia. Did a lot of shooting of this subject, and it is a wonderful subject, I must say. I love the composition, how this utilizes 3-point lighting that we talked about last week. So if you didn't have a chance to watch the episodes last week and you want to know more about lighting, you should. Episodes 22 and 23 go over 3-point lighting. The key light being the strongest light, the fill light being like just amping up the shadow value. Right here, it's my window, right? And of course, an edge light, which you could put behind your character to draw lines. So it kind of like adds space to your subject, right? But, I always say, use natural light to try to capture this 3-point lighting scenario. And in this case, you totally did that because you see the key is coming from the window on the dog, right? The key is the strongest light source. You see the edge in the back, it's like casting on the wall and separating the pillow into the foreground. So it's giving it some more space. But then there's this really natural bounce that's happening. So bounce is when we bounce light from perhaps like a white piece of paper or something like that to add more light to our shadows, right? It's a great way of using one light to capture both a key light and a bounce light, right? But the bounce is blue here, and it's because the light is bouncing off of the bed. The bed is blue, so the light is really beaming off of that bed and bouncing onto the husky's face, adding a natural fill. So you got your key light coming through the window, you have your bounce bouncing off of the sheets onto the husky's face, giving it a bluish kind of shadow tone, and then you have the edge light behind the pillow. So Leilani, you rocked 3-point lighting scenario with natural light. A+. A+ on this picture. Wonderful work. I love the composition. Keep using this husky as your muse because she's an excellent subject. I got some screaming in the background. I might have to cut this short. Sorry about that. A lot of distance learning happening over here. One thing I do notice is that with the kids, one of the trickiest parts for us to navigate is us to deal with the inner, almost like psychological PTSD effects. PTSD, like post traumatic stress disorder of this whole situation. Our kids really don't know as much as maybe they know more than we do. But I feel like this is having definitely a detrimental effect on the kids, particularly. So, kids, get outside. Young kids, older kids, get outside and try to talk things out. All right. And if someone's screaming in your house, like my child is right now, listen to them. Don't just scream back. Say what's wrong. Maybe they'll describe it to you. Talk calmly. If you scream back, they're just gonna scream more. All right. Little kids mimic exactly what we do, so let's model good behavior and good poise. Who knows, right? But don't be afraid to scream every now and then too, because that gets the energy out. Better to scream, I guess, out into the world than to get into a physical altercation, right? Oh, I rant too much. All right, going into, I think I have one more for you. Oh, I have the real Arnaldo that came in with a real recipe. And shout out to Yusette and Matthew. You're going to love this one. Check it out. Pretty gross. It's like Chips Ahoy. Oh, it looks like, ugh, I don't even know what it looks like. I don't even want to say. Very disgusting. No, someone is really in trouble out there. Yeah, I love that reveal shot. That's perhaps my favorite part is where the camera comes out of the cup and you have this interesting texture of like the cookie muffin all over the walls of the Chips Ahoy thing. Um, so I find that that's pretty fascinating. That's my favorite part is that jump cut from the time to the reveal shot. I think that's just really interesting. Someone's really sad in the background. But yeah, I do really like your work, Arnaldo. I think I'm gonna have to cut this short today, guys, because I got some noise happening in the background. All right, I'm gonna have to cut the show because I gotta go help you, Lenore. Are you okay? All right, enough of this. What a Tuesday. Get it going good. Anyways, Arnaldo, I think that the reveal shot is wonderful. I love that, how it kind of comes out of the muffin. Also, you can see the light kind of coming through the white cup. Actually, this might make a cool softener. If you clean this thing out and put it on top of a light bulb, it'd probably make a really cool softener. Just don't leave it there because you always got to be careful of fire hazards when you're working with practical lighting. Because we get fancy, we want to put things on top of lights. Okay, take it off when you're done or keep an eye on it because you don't want a fire to ruin your set, okay, or ruin your scenario, especially right now. So always be cognizant of messing with lighting and electricity. If you're not sure about something, don't plug something in, okay? Because you may be setting off a breaker in your neighbor's house or something like that. So also be careful about plugging too many things in. I think I'm going to cut it short right now. It's about 26 minutes in, folks. Distance learning is going haywire over here, so I'm going to go take care of that. But make sure you get your work done. It is a Makeup Monday. I look forward to seeing all your work coming in through the pipeline so we can have more virtual crits and look forward to Throwback Thursday because I'm going to make Throwback Thursday a thing here on the show. On Thursday, I think I'm going to try showing some of our student work from earlier in the year. So tune in because you get a chance to see some work on the big screen that maybe you don't have access to right now and looks phenomenal because the Tap Film majors are unstoppable. You guys are on point. You guys are killing it. And I love the work. Keep the activity going. Keep the thing rolling. Yo, if you have new real distant ideas, do them. Break this format. Let's see your work. Let's see your work. Work, 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 work. Let's see the work. Let's see the work. Let's see the work. Grading's going to come in over the weekend. So you guys want to catch up with your stuff. So your grades look unstoppable, but you guys are doing fantastic work. I really look forward to seeing the stuff. You're an inspiration, Tappa Film. Let's keep up this energy. Let's show them what it's all about. To be Tappa Film, time-based media, in the place to be. The real, the real, the real. Peace. Enjoy your week.